An investment fraud guide. Investment fraud introduction. You could say the whole system is a crime, how the banks create money out of thin air, lend it to governments, and the people, then expect that money back that they created out of nothing through the legal process called fractional reserve banking at compound interest. They came out and said that we, the people, have to pay this money back that governments borrowed from banks who created it like magic through a process called taxation, so we're all wage slaves. That's the reality we all live under that nobody ever wants to talk about except for a few people called conspiracy theorists who know we are still being controlled just like the Egyptians were controlled by a pharaoh and his Pharisees. The entire human race is being scammed by a few people at the top called the government, big business, the banks, etc. This system we live under does not have to be like this, but it is. I live in this system but try to minimize its effects on me. We're in a matrix ruled by money. The love of money has caused immeasurable amounts of evil, pain and misery. That's where we are at. Money has caused many reasonably decent people to first stray then commit atrocious acts. I blame the system to some extent. There are better ways the human race could manage itself, but it doesn't, so that's the way it is. I was brought up going to Catholic school with religion classes every morning. Any good student of the Bible has to eventually come to one conclusion. The Bible is a cautionary tale about how evil the human race is. I saw the 1936 Negro movie Green Pastures. The blacks who made that film knew that there is the constant conflict between good and evil in the hearts of all humans as individuals and as groups. When I was about 20, I was at military college taking leadership courses. They taught us Theory X and Theory Y of people. I don't remember which was which. One side says that humans are naturally evil. When the cat is away, the mice will play, steal, cheat, sleep, etc. The other side says people are naturally noble, good, vital, inspired, dynamic, etc. I tend to think most want to make money any way they can so that they can pursue their lazy, gluttonous, lusty, greedy to evil activities. Watch the true crime shows to see how evil some people are. If one human is like that, we all have the potential to be like that. As far as trust goes, I come from a business family. If you leave store clerks or others alone with merchandise and money, most will steal some of it at some point in time. At one time, I watched all the episodes of CNBC's TV show American Greed. The schemes that some of these people thought up are cleverly evil. The greed never ends. It was one of Dante Alighieri's 7 deadly sins from his Inferno in the Divine Comedy. On American Greed, the guy at that big bakery company ran the accounting department on his own. The woman who ran that tunnel digger union fund was on her own to write checks to herself with no oversight. There are con artist type shows on TV, on YouTube, and other places. They're all the same. All investments beyond keeping your money in a savings bank account or with a government savings bond are a risk. The first thing you do if you want to play with stocks and mutual funds is only go with the big companies you see consistently advertising in Money magazine. The big mutual fund companies are Fidelity, Vanguard, Charles Schwab, and a few others. Other than that, if it's too good to be true, it is. Don't fall for TV ads. Some people think if it's on TV, it's legitimate. Anyone with money can put ads on TV. Well-established companies can be bought by evil people and plundered. People get ripped off out of stupidity and greed. Most people don't even know that there are hundreds of money books at number 332 of any library plus many money magazines. There's gullibility. Don't listen to anyone. Chapter 1. Investment Fraud Guide. Investment Scam / Investment Fraud 1. If an investment company is not transparent, if they don't open their books to show who they deal with, it's a scam. If they make big gains while everybody else is losing, it's a scam. If they operate offshore, it's probably a scam. If you can't understand it in simple terms, it's a scam. If the top guy is flamboyant and likes to spend money, it's a scam. If they are conspicuous consumers, it's a scam. The oldest scam in the book is the pump and dump, buy low, lie, Sell high. The latest scam is the internet, where some Joe posts a bunch of messages on message boards telling about how great a stock is, then selling his once the stock goes up. I have seen a mega phony gold mine scam. I have seen phony biotech and tech stock scams. People create dummy companies with impressive sounding names, go public, write up phony reports with short-term gains and scam people. This seconds can't check everyone out. By the time they get to a scam company, they're gone. The moral to the story is, don't invest in new, upstart companies that try to persuade you with the get on the ground floor pitch, we're going to be the next Microsoft. Despite the so-called bull market on Wall Street, appearances can be deceiving. There are vultures there ready to pounce on the naive, middle-class investor. Con artists and organized crime are everywhere. There is money to be made on suckers. I still get spam. Every once in a while, I reply with a funny message telling them they're idiots because nobody is sending them any money. The most typical con is to start a dummy company, hype it up, print up nice pamphlets and encouraging news, pay off stockbrokers to sell the stock, then it's a bust and you're left holding the bag with nothing. Do your research. If you want to invest, stick with the established companies with some track record for several years. Stable growth is better than risky hype any day. This Secretary Act of 1934 says you have to have a device, scheme, or artifice to defraud, which means you have to say something fraudulent then act on it. If you go on the internet and give bad advice, you can't be charged for it, but if you say something fraudulent or do some scheme and trade on it, you're cooked, like 15-year-old Jonathan G. Labed of Cedar Grove, New Jersey, who got caught and made the news, some kid getting arrested. In a nutshell, be wary of promises of quick profit or insider knowledge with pressure to invest quickly, and be wary of promoters who try to hide their identities. There is a documentary around about Elizabeth Holmes of the Anos. Some con artists know they're crooks at the outset. Others have a delusion about themselves that they're doing great work. If you watch enough white crime stories, you eventually realize that a lot of these people thought they were doing great work. I have no belief in that fraud called the mental illness industry, but they have a mental illness called narcissistic personality disorder for people who are so delusional they don't know they're evil scumbags. Many of those guys on American Greed lived in some kind of fantasy bubble. Gold mine scams, new high-tech company scams, and the internet are the new playground for scam artists. Just because someone has a website or ad online doesn't make them legitimate. The online service providers sell space, and they usually don't check or care what the buyer puts there. I heard of one scam where some guy printed up some bogus bond certificates on his computer, made up some ridiculous interest rate, created a phony company name, put up a website and collected over $3.5 million before he got caught. And the thing is, it's only a white-collar crime. These guys rarely do much time even if they swindle multi-millions of dollars. Successful investment swindlers use every trick in the book and some that aren't even recorded to convince you that none of the descriptions and precautions in the following pages apply to them. After all, they are offering you a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to make a lot of money quickly, and you do trust them, don't you? Investment swindlers are a faceless voice on a telephone or a friend of a friend. They may perform surgery on their victims' savings from a dingy back office or boiler room, or from an opulent number in the new bank building. They may wear three-piece suits, or they may wear hard hats. They may have no apparent connection to the investment business, or they may have an alphabet soup of impressive letters following their names. They may be glib and fast-talking, or so seemingly shy and soft-spoken that you feel almost compelled to force your money on them. The first rule of protecting yourself from an investment swindle is to rid yourself of any notions you might have as to what an investment swindler looks like or sounds like. Indeed, some swindlers don't start out to be swindlers. There are case histories in which individuals who held positions of trust and esteem have sacrificed their ethics for the fast buck of running an investment scam. In still other cases, investment programs that began with legitimate intentions went sour through happenstance or poor management, leading the promoter to mishandle or abscond with investors' capital. Protecting your savings against fraud involves at least 3 steps. Carefully check out the person and firm you will be dealing with. Take a close and cautious look at the investment offer itself. Continue to monitor any investment that you decide to make. No one of these precautions alone may be sufficient. Although victims of investment fraud can differ from one another in many ways, they do, unfortunately, have one trait in common: greed that exceeds their caution plus a willingness to believe what they want to believe. Swindlers simply attempt to mimic the sales approaches of legitimate investment firms and salespersons, namely telephone, direct mail and advertising. Even if a swindler has to make 100 or 200 phone calls to find a mooch, he figures that the opportunity to pocket thousands of dollars of someone's savings is still good pay for the time and cost involved. Some sellers of fraudulent investment deals buy bona fide mailing lists, names and addresses of persons who, for example, subscribe to a particular investment-related publication, who have responded to previous direct mail offers, or who have other characteristics that swindlers look for, like being in the upper socioeconomic class. A newspaper or magazine ad may offer profitable opportunities far more attractive than available through conventional investments. Once you have taken the bait, the swindler will then attempt to set the hook. Be cautious of strangers offering you something that sounds too good to be true. Never go for an unsolicited investment offer. Don't invest in anything based on appearances. Just because an individual or company has a flashy website, it doesn't mean anything. Websites can be created in a matter of minutes. After taking money for a few months, they disappear. Forget about dealing with individuals or companies from outside your own country. Buy ADRs, foreign stocks, on your regular stock exchange. Buy stocks, bonds, and funds from the big companies only. Everything else could be fraud. Investment scam/investment fraud 2. The only rule is do not invest money in anything unless you're buying real estate like a house, or you're buying stocks, bonds, or funds from one of the big, long-established companies like Fidelity or Vanguard. Buy stocks through TD Ameritrade. Everybody else could be a scam, especially some individual acting like a big shot. Many con artists are one-man operations who hire some stupid people to make it look good, but it's almost always one guy masterminding the scam. That can't happen in a big company. Bernie Madoff controlled everything in his small outfit. The classic Ponzi scheme like Bernie Madoff and many others pulled off is that they claim to be money managers, investing people's money for a fee. They get a few investors, make up phony returns that make it look like they're up 20% or more, which is a great return, but it's all fake. If an investor wants his money at this early stage, they give it to them from the money they get from new investors, but no stocks and funds were ever traded. The portfolio is fake too. People talk about the great returns so other people want to get in. Money flows in, and for a while investors are rewarded with a good return until the interest checks stop coming. Phone calls go unanswered, or the fraudster lies, saying the check is in the mail. Some guys skip town with all the investors' money, then start again somewhere else. The guy had simply been taking a portion of the investment of others and paying it back to the members until he had amassed enough to leave town. This simple fraud is done everywhere, even in churches. Church members are targets because there is a natural trust among the church community which wolves in sheep's clothing exploit. The promise of large returns and the fact that others had already been well paid in the first year brought the suckers running, wanting to get on the bandwagon and make money. It's easy to forge investment statements or test results on a gold mine. Fraudulent offers may come by telephone, email, mail, or TV and radio ads. There was a TV ad soliciting a minimum investment of $5,000. Who is stupid enough to hand some stranger $5,000 who you've never heard of before because of a slick TV commercial? The fraudsters are very creative. They send attractive and official-looking literature, but so what? It's just the art of fraud. Anybody who invests money in anything they got from a spam email is really stupid. For telemarketing, hang up right away. Some of the many schemes are spam, phony websites, Ponzi schemes, pyramid schemes, false advertising, boiler room telemarketing. Anybody can create some microcap company which is traded on the over-the-counter OTC markets, OTC Bulletin Board OTCBB, Hype it up, sell stock then bail. Don't reply to spam. If you reply to the sender to remove you from their mailing list, they just keep sending you more spam. Be on the lookout for phony websites claiming to be security regulators, your bank, credit card company, etc. Your bank will never send an unsolicited email asking for your personal information. If your bank sends you an email, don't click the link they give you. Type the bank website into your browser. Even though investment crooks know that regulatory agencies regularly monitor ads in major publications, some nevertheless use such publications in the hope of being able to hit and run before an investigator shows up. Others advertise in narrowly circulated publications they think regulators may be less likely to see. Some swindlers go first class. Using profits from previous swindles, they rent plush offices, hire an interior decorator and pretty receptionist and open what has the appearance but not the reality of a reputable investment firm. You may even have to phone for an appointment, and once there, don't be surprised to be kept waiting. That's intended to make you all the more eager. This kind of swindler's success depends on how long he can keep his victims from knowing they are being cheated. Investors are assured that their large profits are being reinvested to earn even larger profits. Such a swindler may join local civic groups, contribute to charities and generally play the role of solid citizen. The crux of the investment scam artist is his ability to be a good salesman and tap into your greed factor. They can promise you the world with the expectation of large profits, low-risk investment, a sure thing, a hot new technology stock, the urgency of the moment to get in on the ground floor, and finally, the ability to be your friend and get your confidence. Ponzi scheme. One of the oldest schemes going involves paying fast, large profits to initial investors, actually from their own or other people's investments, knowing that they are likely to recommend the investment to their friends and these friends will tell their friends. Soon, the swindler no longer needs to find new victims, they will find him. It's become one of the oldest and most often employed investment schemes because it's proven to be one of the most lucrative. The infallible forecaster. The routine goes like this. Jim phones someone we will call Mrs. Smith and quickly assure her that, no, he doesn't want her to invest a single cent. Never invest with someone you don't know. But he says he would like to demonstrate his firm's research skill by sharing with her the forecast that so-and-so commodity was about to experience a significant price increase. Sure enough, the price soon went up. A second phone call doesn't solicit an investment either. Jim simply wants to share with Mrs. Smith a prediction that the price of so-and-so a commodity was about to go down. As predicted, the price of the commodity subsequently declines. By the time Mrs. Smith receives a third call, she is a believer. She not only wants to invest but insists on it with a big enough investment to make up for the opportunities she had already missed out on. What Mrs. Smith has no way of knowing was that Jim had begun with a calling list of 200 persons. In the first call, he told 100 that the price of so-and-so commodity would go up and the other 100 were told it would go down. When it went up, he made a second call to the 100 who had been given the correct forecast. Of these, 50 were told the next price move would be up and 50 were told it would be down. The end result, once the predicted price decline occurred, Jim had a list of 50 persons eager to invest. Phony gold. Not only did the two brothers have a fancy office building with their own company name on it, but the investment offer seemed sound and straightforward. Instead of buying gold outright and holding it for appreciation, make a small down payment that the firm could use to secure financing that would permit much larger quantities of gold to be bought and held for the investor's account. That way, when the price of gold rose, as was sure to happen, investors stood to realize highly leveraged profits. The company provided storage vaults where investors could view the wall-to-wall stacks of glittering bullion. By the time authorities caught wind of the scheme's suspicious smell and looked for themselves, it turned out the only thing gold was the color of the paint on the cardboard used to construct look-alike bars of bullion. The counterfeit gold, however, proved far easier to find than the millions of dollars of investors' money. Con artists have a sucker mailing list that they sell to each other. Most con artists try to control the conversation by talking most of the time. The way to disarm them is to ask questions like these. Where did you get my name? What risks are involved in the proposed investment? Can you send me a written explanation of your investment so I can consider it at my leisure? Would you mind explaining your investment proposal to some third party, such as my attorney, accountant, investment advisor, or banker? Can you give me the names of your firm's principals and officers? Can you provide references? Do you have any documents such as a prospectus or risk disclosure statement that you can provide? Are the investments you are offering traded on a regulated exchange such as a securities or futures exchange? What governmental or industry regulatory supervision is your firm subject to? How long has your company been in business? What has your track record been? When and where can I meet with you or with another representative of your firm? Where, exactly, will my money be? And what type of regular accounting statements do you provide? How much of my money would go for commissions, management fees and the like? How can I liquidate, i.e., sell the item I'd be investing in, if and when I decide I want my money? If disputes should arise, how can they be resolved? The bottom line is before you invest, investigate with federal agencies, regulatory agencies, the BBB, Consumer Protection Agencies, trade organizations, and other professionals in the field to get their opinion if they have even heard about the company. Bear in mind that con artists are slick. Never just go by their word alone that it's a sure thing waiting for you. Don't invest just because friends are blindly investing. Make a phone call to the financial editor of your local newspaper. Although newspapers don't give endorsements or make investment recommendations, they may be aware of a swindler who is working a scam in the area. If you become suspicious or overly uncomfortable with an investment you have made, and if you are unable to totally resolve your concerns, the best thing you can do is try to get out of it as quickly as possible. That means demanding your money back, accompanied, if necessary, by threats to contact authorities. You might or might not get it. The best you can hope for, if indeed there's fraud involved, is that the swindler may decide to refund your money rather than risk having you blow the whistle while he is still on the prowl for new investors. If that happens, consider yourself more fortunate than most. No doubt you will be told that backing out now would be anything from contractually illegal to a terrible financial mistake. Swindlers figure that every once in a while some of their more fidgety investors simply have to be reconvinced. He may tell you that you are so close to making really big money or the investment now looks even more profitable than originally expected. If you insist on a refund of your investment, insist on it immediately. Ask to pick it up yourself or offer to pay the cost of having it sent by overnight mail or wired directly to your bank. Don't settle for it will take a week or two or the check is in the mail. As everyone knows, checks seem to be lost more often than any other type of mail. If you don't get your investment back, and chances are you won't, or even if you do and still suspect a swindle, report it promptly to the appropriate authorities and regulatory officials. They may be able to conduct an investigation and, if called for, seek legal action to impound whatever funds the firm still has. The majority of individuals and companies offering investments to the public are subject to some sort of regulation and may be subject to multiple regulation. Those which trade in futures contracts and options on futures contracts are regulated by the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, a federal agency, and by National Futures Association, 800-676-4 ENFA, nfa.futures.org. An industry-wide self-regulatory organization authorized by Congress. In the securities and securities options business, the federal regulatory agency is the Securities and Exchange Commission. There is also an industry self-regulatory organization, the National Association of Securities Dealers. The Federal Trade Commission has jurisdiction over advertising, franchises and business opportunities. Deals involving interstate promotion of land sales are regulated by the Federal Department of Housing and Urban Development. By contacting the appropriate regulatory organization, you can generally find out whether the firm or person is properly registered to engage in that type of business and whether any public disciplinary actions have been taken against them. If the mails are used in promoting or operating a phony investment scheme, Federal postal inspectors want to know about it. The postmaster in your community can put you in touch with them. Fraud involving any form of interstate commerce is also of interest to the Federal Bureau of Investigation. The nearest office should be listed in your phone directory. See the movies Wall Street from around 1985 and Boiler Room from 1998, which are about some of the shady dealings involved in the stock trade. All investing is a risk, most marketing is hype, it's a lie. If you see hype, go the other way. Stick with basic stocks for the long run. Insiders create the bubbles, reap the rewards, then leave the outsiders, the public investors, holding the bag. Is this criminal or is it common sense? You are to blame too for being so greedy, getting caught up in the hype and not doing your homework, taking a rational look at what was going on. You bought into the hype like a fool and now you are the fool. Be conservative rather than follow the glitz, or if you decide to follow the glitz, watch it, and when you feel the tide starting to turn, sell it all in one shot, buy your boring stocks and watch the coming debacle. The problem with the investment business for the consumer is basically caveat emptor, let the buyer beware. When you check out an investment vehicle, whatever it might be, bonds, funds, stocks, etc., the person selling the stuff to you wants to sell to make his commission, so who is the onus on? Is it on him to be honest? But any reasonable consumer should know this guy or gal is at least part hype. They can always say they were acting in good faith with good intentions and didn't know the stock they sold you was going to crash. They can lie to you all they want about an investment, and if you buy it and it tanks, you really have no evidence against the guy except what he told you, and you can't prove that. It's his word against yours. The other big gray area is in the investment media. There are a few objective financial reporters and financial magazines/newsletters out there, but most of these guys hype up the stocks they own and hype up the stocks their firms are underwriting. You can't get them for fraud because they just have to say they gave the best advice at the time for the facts they had, and then they'll throw it back in your face and say you're supposed to be a savvy consumer and check everything out for yourself before you buy an investment vehicle. On the internet, people will spam you with messages touting a stock, go in on chat rooms and news groups reserved for the general public to hype up a stock and set up an elaborate website for some scam or questionable company they're hyping up to make it appear like a real winner. One guy says if you're investigating a company, watch for cash flow. Where do they get the money that's coming in the door? Is it made by hyping up a stock, borrowing, or real sales and services? Whenever just about everybody is hyping up a hot, new trend through irrational exuberance and the market is going through the roof for reasons that don't seem logical, watch out for a bubble that's about to burst. Never forget the great internet stock debacle. They say it's caused by greed, the greed of the sellers, the owners, the media dudes and the general public who all want to get rich fast. It's the blind leading the blind, all on false hope. Charm, charisma, and hype can't compete with good sense and rational, independent analysis. Every new technological advancement that's pretty good is always hyped up as the greatest thing ever created, whereupon the Wall Street cats go into overdrive, competitors find a cheaper way, and the industry, regardless of what it is, always loses favor after a few years. Don't hang on to a trend for greater returns. Make a decent profit then sell before the crash. Be very skeptical about who you trust. Don't trust too many of them guys you see on TV hyping up stocks. Dig further to see if they work for somebody or are they simply objective reporters trying to do a good job. Don't buy and hold for the long run because there will always be recessions. Buy, watch, and sell when you feel the market is tumbling. Don't invest in companies whose function is to invest in new companies in the latest technological trend. When the bubble bursts, they go in a flash. Beware of real estate bubbles in an area too. Be wary of the hope in international stocks and funds. IPOs are generally all hype. Stay away. Try number 332.8097 or HG 4928.5 at the library. How do you protect yourself? Financial service professionals have one objective: to make money for their firm and for themselves. If they don't, they're fired. Their best interest is always themselves, not you. It's not even about the individual, small-time investors anymore. The big money is in underwriting new IPOs. This is why you have to be careful about buying any new stock. These financial companies who underwrite a stock, manage it going public, are thinking about making money fast, not about what great things this company will do for the world. Financial analysts make money when they hype up stocks. When they can't recommend one anymore, rather than criticize it, they stay silent. Why is it that there are way more buy recommendations than sell or hold? You have to have the attitude that it's them against you because it is, but the great thing is that you don't need a broker and you don't have to listen to the guys on TV much. You can go to websites and see what stocks are doing and analyze them for yourself. Understand the graph. Great new companies go up like a rocket for the first 1 to 10 years, then they always go down because of competition, other new products from someone else, or the institutional investors get tired of them and sell. Never trust anyone with your money. It has often been said that investors who are bilked out of money are at least partially responsible because it is greed that makes them fork over money to schemes by con artists and for bad advice from unscrupulous financial advisors. My first rule is that nobody really needs a financial advisor, except to do taxes, because money education is not rocket science. It's not that hard to educate yourself about money, then pick your own stocks, mutual funds, and other investment vehicles. If anybody phones you up claiming to be an investment advisor or representing anything involving money, offering you an investment opportunity, don't waste your time. Hang up. Ignore all email spam advertising investment opportunities. Don't listen to what most internet chat rooms, blogs, and news groups say about the stock market. Trust only reputable websites and reputable investment publications. There is a lot of hype about stocks on the TV money shows. You have to understand the concept behind the statement, "Don't ask a barber if you need a haircut." That's how they make their money. They will always say yes. The same holds true for everybody in the investment industry. They have to be bullish because that's how they make money, even if they're lying through their teeth. They will never tell you not to buy. I've never seen one advisor recommend that you sell or don't buy more stocks than they tell you to buy in any interview on TV. It's always a rosy picture, buy or hold. If any telemarketer calls you about stocks, you get email solicitations or you get free investment publications urging you to either invest in a certain 3 or 4 stocks or buy the subscription, don't listen. A good researcher goes to the good information where he already knows it is. He doesn't listen to anything that comes to him unsolicited. I like the guy at investors.com, Investors Business Daily, because I can tell he's meticulous and sincere, and I've been seeing him analyze stocks for 10 years now, so I know who he is and what he's about. I trust his judgment as being as good as you're going to get, but not even he has a crystal ball. There's a Hollywood movie around called Boiler Room. It works like this with scams in the real world. These guys have the savvy to put together phony, shell companies, get them listed on some exchange even if it's just OTC, then hype them to death as the next big thing, and they're so smooth that suckers fall for it. For financial analysts, it's not about objective research. It's about one thing: sell as much stock as possible. Be wary of the hype surrounding every IPO. People use all kinds or clever fraud to hype stocks up on the internet by pretending to be ordinary, objective people passing off real important information. Don't trust anyone with excessive optimism. Don't listen to anyone's hot tips. Do your own research through the good investment publications. I don't want to get too paranoid, but there aren't too many good guys in the world of investing, so be wary. You can read quarterly financial statements at sec.gov and look at either the big, independent investment publications, personalwealth.com, valueline.com, money.com, thestreet.com, zacks.com, bloomberg.com, or the small, loner intellectual types publishing their own. You can usually pick out the good ones from the bad by style of writing. The bad guys use puffery and hype. The good guys write in-depth reports. Don't be taken in by any hype. Don't invest money with small investment firms or new ones. Stick with the established discount brokerage companies and established mutual fund companies. You can do a check of the disciplinary record of stockbrokers by filing a request with the SEC at sec.gov. You can easily nullify your paranoia about your stockbroker by not having one, picking your own stocks, buying through a discount brokerage. If you're with a broker and feel he has overstepped his authority and/or swindled you, report him to the SEC and file a civil lawsuit against him. If he has a number of dissatisfied clients, file a class action lawsuit. Don't trust anything an investment ad says. Watch out for all the hidden fees with mutual funds. I read an article by a former chairman of the SEC and he tore the mutual fund industry to bits as a bunch of scammers with their hidden fees. Don't give anyone power of attorney over your money. Investing in futures, options, and short selling are all investments that require a good grasp of the subject in order to succeed. Don't go to free investment seminars. They are a rah-rah pitch designed to sell you some book or tape package or even worse, the latest, new hot stock or fund. Boiler room operations is a scam where a bunch of guys either run a legal brokerage house or pretend to. They call people cold turkey, send out free investment letters, etc., all aimed to butter people to make them invest money in what are essentially worthless investments. The solution is to never buy from anyone soliciting with an investment opportunity. But only through your discount brokerage once you make your own decision. When there is irrational exuberance in the stock market, cease all investments in anything that's not an old dinosaur blue chip stock. Complaints and lawsuits against financial services companies. You can check out your brokerage firm and the person you're dealing with by contacting one of the SEC's public reference rooms, giving them the name of your broker and asking for Form BD, which is the firm's registration form. The way to avoid making complaints and filing lawsuits is to do all your research yourself and don't listen to anyone. That way, you won't risk them losing your money. That piece of paper full of fine print you sign when you put your money into their care basically ties your hands. Once you sign, they have the power to control your money. If you don't like what they do, you may have to accept the decision of an arbitrator unless you take your complaint to a federal district court or insert language into the original contract which protects your rights. Either way, the hassle can be enormous and costly. Even though stockbrokers and brokerage houses are licensed and regulated, there are many con artists and fly-by-nighters in the field. Check them out before you deal with them. Investigate them through your state securities office, National Association of Securities Administrators and the seconds. Stockbrokers have many ways of getting extra money from you. The most common problem is negligence, whereby the stockbroker fails to comply with an order. Another problem arises from a situation called churning. When a stockbroker churns your account, he advises you to make a transaction which creates commissions for him instead of profits for you. A broker could falsify the paperwork on your account to give you a higher asset level than you are really worth to give you more leverage power. Some brokers steal outright from their clients. Some brokers claim to be licensed when they're not. Finally, and in conjunction with churning, a stockbroker can misrepresent an investment with his own interests in mind instead of yours. If you feel you have been cheated, don't just be intimidated and walk away. Demand answers from the broker and his firm. Seek objective advice on how to proceed. Some cases are hard to prove, for example, intentional fraud versus straight-out incompetence. Act immediately. Don't wait. Keep all paperwork. Contact your state securities office, the NASD, NAST, and the seconds. The hierarchy of complaint escalation is: complain to your broker. Talk to the broker's branch manager. Write to the compliance department at the firm's main office. Send a copy of your letter to your state securities office or to the Office of Investor Education and Assistance at the seconds. Call the Office of Consumer Affairs at 202-942-7040, the NASD and the NAST. Choose to resolve your complaint through the courts or through binding arbitration. Many brokerage houses have a clause in their contracts when selling securities that require you to go through arbitration to resolve a complaint rather than through the court system. The Uniform Code gives investment customers the right to arbitrate their complaints as long as you do it within 6 years of the alleged incident. You first type up your complaint and send it to the arbitration board of the self-regulating organization of your choice from the ones listed below. They investigate and, if applicable, set up a panel of from 1 to 3 neutral panelists to hear the case. You're allowed to bring a lawyer to represent your side of the case. There are 2 procedures, a small claims procedure for under $10,000 which is called the simplified arbitration procedure, and the other one for cases of over $10,000. A location is chosen and you sign a submission agreement, which means that you will abide by the decisions of the board. The arbitrators are supposed to be neutral people. For a large case over $50,000, there may be 2 or more arbitrators, something like a mini jury. This is good to counteract the criticism that arbitrators in the past were bribed by the brokerage companies being sued. You have to pay a filing fee to file the case. The opposing party may file a counterclaim or may agree to settle outright. If you don't like a certain panelist, you can request that he be replaced. The pre-trial is conducted like a court case, with each side offering the other side its documents and other information for review. During the hearing, each side presents its case, offers witnesses, has the right of cross-examination and closing arguments. After the hearing, the panelists discuss the case and within 30 days mail a registered letter to both sides indicating their binding decision. Any monetary awards must be paid within 30 days. Interest starts on them after that. If the loser refuses to pay, go back to the board for disciplinary action. Churning, the dirty secret of brokers. Brokers have to eat and pay bills. Buying and selling is how they earn a living. If they're not trading, they can't eat or pay their bills. Churning an account is illegal, but the fact is that every time a broker buys or sells stocks for a client, he or she always makes money. If the client ends up losing money, the broker still gets his commission. Read the papers about all the convictions of people in the business, investment, religious and political fields, people who are supposed to help you but instead, they consciously rip you off or try to get you to keep making stock trades no matter how bad they look so that they can collect commissions, which is all they really care about. It's so common it has its own term, churning. Churning is a concept used by money advisors. They constantly buy and sell your stocks not because they think it will make you more money but because they want to collect those commissions. If you heard what some of these stockbrokers and investment advisors say about investors behind their backs, you would never use one again but would instead do your own investing. Many have contempt for the people they are making money from. It's like they're jealous, angry people. I know because a few of my buddies were in this business. Scrupulous people generally don't get into this business. It's the wheeler-dealer type who's a bit on the scam side who thrives. If you really want investment, hire a fee-only advisor, not one who earns commissions from your trades. Stocks and mutual funds are not rocket science. Don't hire a stockbroker to manage your money. Buy your own stocks and funds. All you have to do is buy a money magazine with an article like 10 best stocks, then buy the top 5 using a discount broker like Ameritrade. Insider trading info. The law states that no company executives or their relatives can benefit from insider knowledge about the company until that knowledge goes public through the media. Any person who becomes an insider of a public corporation is not allowed to use sensitive information or pass that information off to another person to trade stocks to their advantage before that information goes public. Insider trading is persons who have information about a corporation by virtue of position with the corporation and use this information to trade in securities of the corporation or to assist others to trade in securities of the corporation before that information is made available to the public. The SEC's Rule I-0b-5 covers insider trading cases, the text of which is as follows. It shall be unlawful for any person, directly or indirectly, by the use of any means or instrumentality of interstate commerce, or of the mails or of any facility of any national securities exchange, to a. employ any device, scheme, or artifice to defraud. b. make any untrue statement of a material fact or omit to state a material fact necessary in order to make the statements made, in light of the circumstances under which they were made, not misleading, or c. engage in any act, practice, or course of business which operates or would operate as a fraud or deceit upon any person, in connection with the purchase or sale of any security. The most common type of insider trading is a case where an officer, director, or other person who is involved with a corporation buys or sells the company's securities while in the possession of material, non-public information, but Rule L0b5 is not limited to just this scenario. Some other possible instances of insider trading are as follows. A corporation either issues misleading information to the public or omits stating information it is obligated to disclose. When an insider tells a friend or ally some material, non-public information who uses it to trade securities, a process called tipping which was the basis of the Martha Stewart case. General manipulation of stock prices by company insiders in any of a number of ways. General manipulative behavior by stockbrokers and other securities sellers. SEC.gov. SETI.ca, check on what insiders are doing with their own stock. StreetInsider.com. Activists for the money industry. You can rest assured that the trade groups within the investment industry, American Banking Association, Investment Company Institute, Association of Financial Planners, TechNet, etc., have lobbyists in Washington to protect their interests at the expense of the public's interest.